You hear a lot of people these days saying that the ketogenic diet improves their exercise performance, but does it? In the next few minutes, I want to present the other side of the argument by showing you a few human clinical studies to give you a better idea if keto is right for you. Let's go. So we've got this investigation: low carbohydrate ketogenic diet impairs anaerobic exercise performance in men and women. 16 men and women, they're given either a low carb diet, less than 50 grams a day, or a high carb diet, which I did the math. And if you weighed 150 pounds, this came to between 400 and 700 grams of carbohydrates a day. So big disparity here. They do before and after exercise testing to see what the changes might be. And this is what they find. Low carbohydrate diet results in about a 7% lower peak muscle power output and about a 6% lower average muscle power output. And the people doing keto could run 15% less than those doing a higher carbohydrate diet. Kind of makes sense because basically carbohydrates are a very big fuel source during exercise, and that could influence their ability to generate power and the distance they could run. These researchers sum it up by saying the ketogenic diet reduces exercise performance in activities that are heavily dependent on the anaerobic energy system. Basically, that means high-intensity exercise. That's when the anaerobic energy system kicks into play. Another study. This one is a bit of a mixed bag here. As I said, because it's only got 5 people. I normally like to see more than 5 people in a study, but it is a 10-week study. There's no control group. That's another limitation of this study. But they put these 5 people on a keto diet, and they find what happens. They lose about 8 pounds. Makes sense. As you drop your carbs, you start to use your glycogen, and with glycogen is a lot of water. So I got to think a good amount of that 8 grams or 4 kilograms is water. What I also find in terms of exercise is that basically they say their average time to exhaustion dropped by about 2 minutes. In other words, that means they fatigued quicker on the low carb diet. They also appear to show a drop in their aerobic ability, their VO2 max, and their muscle power dropped as well. And interestingly, even though these athletes said they felt better on the ketogenic diet, they weren't as good at exercising at higher intensity, as I say, inability to easily undertake high intense exercise bouts. Again, could that most likely be due to the fact they were eating less carbs? Perhaps. They did follow up with these individuals 12 months later, and they find that none of these athletes were doing the keto diet anymore, but they had reduced their carbohydrates than what they were doing before, but they weren't doing it to the extent that they were doing the keto diet. And then we've got this study, the other end of the spectrum, not aerobic, but anaerobic strength training. So we've got 24 healthy guys, and they are broken up into a ketogenic group, a non-ketogenic group, and a control group. And they all do the same type of resistance exercise, and they do it for 8 weeks. So it's a 2-month-long study. They measure body fat with the DEXA scan, which is a very accurate measurement of body fat. Okay, what do they find? So the people doing keto, yeah, they lost body fat and they lost visceral fat. That's really good. I like that. Visceral fat's the not so good fat to have. But what they also found is no significant increases in the ketogenic group in total body weight. In other words, they didn't gain weight, but they also didn't gain muscle mass either. Contrast that with the non-keto group, who actually gained weight and gained muscle mass. Okay, so they sum it up by saying maybe the keto is not the greatest for those trying to increase muscle mass. Again, if you think from that first study I showed you, strength training is another type of anaerobic exercise regimen. So maybe it's possible the ketogenic diet may not be the greatest, again, for higher intensity exercises. And then that brings us to this interesting study. 12 people doing CrossFit are split up into 2 groups. One group does keto for 12 weeks. Another group eats normally for 12 weeks. And again, they all do CrossFit for 12 weeks. What do they find? So those people doing the ketogenic diet, their blood ketone levels, beta hydroxybutyrate is a ketone. That does go up. That makes sense. They're on a ketogenic diet. But the DEXA scan showed that they appeared to lose muscle mass in their legs by about 1.4%, and their vastus lateralis muscle, that's an outer thigh muscle, that appeared to decrease its thickness in the ketogenic group by about 8%. So what we're saying here is maybe these people are losing muscle mass, and maybe they're losing at least muscle thickness in that vastus lateralis. That said, I do want to point something out to you. What you're looking at here are statistically non-significant values. Normally when you read a study, less than less than 0.05 is statistically significant. These are not less than 0.05. So from a sciencey perspective, these would be non-significant from laboratory standpoint. I'll leave it to your discretion whether 1.4 loss of muscle and a 0.8 in muscle thickness is significant for you. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. Also, in terms of exercise, no change in resting energy expenditure. Okay, so metabolism didn't change on keto. Their strength did not change. Their 1 repetition maximum in the squat did not change with keto. They didn't run any faster, and their aerobic ability was not any better either in the ketogenic group. So these researchers point out that, again, whether or not, I think this is an important thing, again, whether or not these issues they see with the muscle mass and vastus lateralis thickness, could that be due to fluid shifts within the muscle? That's a possibility, and I'm glad they pointed that out. I want to see this study replicated with a larger number of people, and when that study comes out, I'll do another video on it. They do mention, however, also that the increase in LDL, which went up 35% in the keto group, warrants further investigation. Again, these people were given guidelines on how to eat keto, and so I didn't see anything specific on the foods they were eating, so that most likely played a role in this. Whether they were doing clean keto or dirty keto, it's hard to say. I couldn't tell from the study. But again, it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. If you're doing keto, you might want to get your LDL levels checked. What do you think, gang? Have you done keto? Has it helped your exercise performance? I'm really curious because there's not a lot of human research out there. So let me know below in the comments. I'm really curious to see what happens. Again, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, gang, I'm Joe Cannon. Go out, be safe, and where you can, do try to make a difference.